This is the 254 Bulletin, Kenya's voice.
Few minutes after Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen issued a detailed statement on police reforms partly triggered by the death of blogger Albert Ojwang in police hands, DIG Edward Lagat bowed to pressure and stepped aside to pave way for investigations. Lagat says his move was in good and conscious thought of his role and responsibilities, citing the ongoing investigations into Ojwang's death as the reasons for temporarily vacating office. Lagat in his statement termed Ojwang's death as an unfortunate incident and will be out of office until the completion of the ongoing investigations. The move by Lagat became apparent when the Interior Cabinet Secretary earlier hinted to the possibility by saying the police DIG is well conversant with the law of investigations and necessary steps that needs to be taken by suspects and those adversely mentioned.
DIG Lagat is a seasoned police officer who understands what it takes to carry out matters of investigations and where or whether or not his conduct or act or position can affect that investigations.
In his statement, Lagat ends by noting, and I quote, "I undertake to provide any support that may be required of me during investigations of the unfortunate incident. I offer immense condolences to the family of Mr. Albert Ojwang for their great loss." End quote.
Lagat must go! Lagat must go!
Pressure has been mounting with the human rights bodies, the Law Society of Kenya, sections of religious leaders and protesters who took onto the streets on Budget Day demanding for Lagat's resignation, arrest and prosecution.
The investigations, as I have already said earlier, are going on with IPOA. IPOA is doing its part in terms of investigations.
Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja told senators last week that Ojwang was arrested after Lagat filed a formal complaint with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, a move that has now placed him at the center of the probe. Eliud Kipkoech Lagat, a career cop, began his spell with the National Police Service in 1998, joining the service after completing training at the Kenya Police College in Kiganjo. A career that saw him serve in different roles before becoming the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Kenya Police Service. Before the brutal murder of Albert Ojwang staining his career, Lagat served in various capacities, including Deputy Head of Crime Scene Support Unit, the Head of Investigation Bureau, and later as the Head of Bomb and Hazardous Material Unit. 2 years after joining the service, he became an Inspector of Police attached to the Bomb Disposal Unit, housed at the Criminal Investigations Department, now the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Between 2001 and 2005, he was forensic investigator still attached to the DCI headquarters. However, in 2020, he was named the Deputy Director, DCI Reform Section. 2 years later, in 2022, he was named the Director Investigations Bureau, a position he held until April 2023, when he was named the Commandant of the General Service Unit, an elite unit within the National Police Service. Lagat rose to his current role in 2024, replacing Douglas Kanja after he was promoted as the Inspector General. Mandated to oversee the day-to-day administration and operations of the Kenya Police Service, overseeing coordination, supervision, training and internal oversight within the unit. He was among the candidates shortlisted to succeed George Kinoti after his sacking by President William Ruto over runaway extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances of Kenyans. He holds a master's degree in armed conflict and peace studies from the University of Nairobi and a Bachelor of Technology in Automotive from University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, in Nandi County. A blow-by-blow account exclusively in our possession now sheds a new light on what could be the events of the night of June 7th, 2025. The night blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang died while in custody at the Central Police Station. The damning statement, recorded by detained police constable James Mukhwana, directly implicates the officer commanding station OCS Taalam alleging that he issued instructions to discipline Ojwang. Orders, Mukhwana claims, originated from Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat. This comes despite OCS Taalam having publicly distanced himself from the murder allegations. In his detailed statement to investigators from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority IPOA, Mukhwana narrates being summoned to the OCS's office during his shift. He was allegedly told, and I quote, "There is a directive from DIG Lagat. Do you know him? There are officers from the DCI headquarters bringing a suspect here at 8 p.m. Tell the inmates to discipline him a bit." When Mukhwana raised concerns about what could go wrong, he says he was warned against questioning orders as a junior officer and told bluntly that disobedience could cost him. Later that night at around 9 p.m., a black Subaru pulled up at the station. Inside was a man in handcuffs, later identified as Albert Ojwang. Mukhwana says he called OCS Taalam, who confirmed that Ojwang was the suspect in question. Ojwang was booked into custody at around 9:20 p.m. and shortly after, the assault began inside the last cell opposite the toilet. Mukhwana states that 4 inmates, Collins Ireri, Jill Amiton, Brian Maniki and Eric Ndambuki, were instructed to carry out the beatings after they were given 2,000 shillings to buy alcohol. As the beatings escalated, Mukhwana claims he and another officer, Police Constable Mukhwana, rushed in to stop the torture. Ojwang was found bleeding, leaning against the wall. Mukhwana says he immediately asked the Deputy OCS Samuel Nanga to take Ojwang to hospital. It was around 10 p.m. when he left for home. The following day, on June 8th, he began receiving numerous calls from colleagues asking if he had heard what had happened to Ojwang. When he reached out to Nganga for clarity, he was advised to call the OCS. OCS Taalam reportedly brushed off his concerns, telling him things were not bad and that they were safe. But by June 11th, Mukhwana had been summoned by IPOA to record a formal statement. He admits that in his initial testimony, he withheld the truth as part of a pact among the officers to cover up for one another. However, he later discovered he was being made a scapegoat by his colleagues. Haunted by guilt, Mukhwana says he returned to IPOA on June 12th and asked to record a second truthful statement. He was arrested and taken to Capitol Hill Police Station, where his second statement was taken. Mukhwana says Ojwang was not meant to be killed, but to be disciplined as per instruction of the OCS Taalam. Through his lawyers, Mukhwana has now requested placement under witness protection, stating he is ready to tell the whole truth. Mukhwana's legal team says they won't be seeking his release on bail, citing concerns over his personal safety. The lawyers claim they have been trailed and intimidated by individuals believed to be police officers, and a formal complaint has been lodged at the Capitol Hill Police Station. Embattled Central Police Station OCS Samson Taalam cut a calm figure as he stood in the dock facing serious accusations over his alleged role in the brutal murder of teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang. In a tense courtroom, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and IPOA urged Chief Magistrate Ben Mark to grant police 21 more days to hold Taalam, accusing him of tampering with crucial evidence in the ongoing probe into Ojwang's death while in custody.
The respondent is the custodian of the station records and the surveillance system, that is the CCTV, that is under investigation.
This is the 254 Bulletin, Kenya's voice.